Hey traders, TG Watkins here. It is September 8th when I'm recording this, and we've actually got some interesting things to tell you this week. It's been a few days since I've made a video for you all, and we had Apple go down, and in the Moxie group, in the Moxie trading room, I called it the morning of the big fall before the market actually opened. And so I want to show you guys, walk you through that, and so you guys can see what it's actually like being inside of the Moxie Indicator trading room. So let me get you a screenshot here, show you guys this one. We can do, let's see, the Apple alert. Oh, and then, yeah, we'll talk about this. We have the Orlando Summit, which is going to be a simpler trading specific thing if you guys are interested. That's going to be October 27th and 28th. And then later on the 29th and 30th and 31st, there are going to be a money show in Orlando. So I'm going to be having a speaking spot there if you guys want to catch that. So we'll be giving you some more information, but if you guys are interested, this kind of, we're going to start telling you and promoting this kind of stuff. So let me get this up here, and in through here, let's get the drawing tool, and look at this. This was the morning of, before the market opened, and I said, it looks like Apple and the NASDAQ look like they still need to pull back. And then I said, okay, let me show you the example of Apple that we're going to be going on with this. So let me then show you guys that one. Come over here to alert number 2. And you can see here still before the market opened. And this was basically the example. I used TPX as an example just from a structural standpoint, from a technical analysis standpoint, and said, hey, this is what I saw with TPX and why it moved down, and I'm seeing the exact same structure with Apple, and I think it's going to pull back. And so that we were able to walk through that, and I said, I think this is what it's going to do. I think it's going to do the same, similar formations, and I think it's going to pull back. And of course, if Apple pulls back, then the NASDAQ is going to pull back and all this stuff. And so, yeah, I thought I'm still very cautious right now. This is what's happening out there, and we need to be careful. So then we continue, and I can show you this. If we look at Apple and TPX, basically, you can see here, these are the similarities that I had going on with it. Basically overbought, extended, too far away from moving averages, and then basically, we should see a pullback. Now, as it turns out, that pullback started because of the news about the Chinese government not wanting or banning the use of iPhones for state employees, and then the chart already started going down until the next day when the news actually came out and it went down even further. So most of what you need is inside of the charts in order to really understand what's going on with the market. And inside of the Moxie trading room, I was able to just pick this out and show you guys, and did it just in the nick of time before the big move to the downside. So yeah, very fun, very exciting about how these things are going, and able to call that out. All right, then let's come over here, and I want to show you guys the internals. So we had this. I was on the final bar with Dave Keller last week and used this example, and I wanted to say, hey, when the number of stocks over their 20-day SMA got basically extreme low, 15%, something like that, that tends to have marked a bottom, and it at least marked a bottom for now. Now, the next thing is we did see a bounce. You can see we got number of stocks over the 20-day up, and the 50-day and the 200-day. We did get a bounce, and we saw that with the market too. But from there, I was expecting some sort of pullback. I wanted to see the market come back and actually test support, and then if it was going to hold, then we can see the market go up. Well, the market pulled back, and we're still looking for it to test support. It has not confirmed anything. It's still weak. It's still pulling back, and you can see that also with the breadth indicators that they all kind of turn back down also. So we're really just kind of in a holding pattern. The market's still chopping. September is a historically weak month, and so this is kind of where we're at. There's just not a ton of stuff going on out there. So if we do look at the SPY, hang on, let me get this figured out real quick. I want to merge these, and then we can go over here to the SPY. There we go. So yeah, the first thing was that I was able to demonstrate to the Moxie subscribers, this was part of what we were talking about in there, is like, look, price is getting a little bit too far away from the moving average on the daily chart, and it's riding the 30 ATR on the hourly chart, and it's getting too far away over here. All right, so then we can kind of look at this and say, yeah, that's why the market pulled back. We kind of saw the same situation with Apple, but Apple had news, and that's what carried it to the downside. And honestly, at this point, it's like we are kind of in between a rock and a hard place. We have a potential trampoline move here. It doesn't mean it has to confirm. Like we're still waiting for it to see if that's going to happen. We do have the 50 over the 200, and we do have the 8 over the 21. Price was over the 50 for a while, but then it came back down, and the daily Moxie indicator is below 0. So really, I kind of chalking this up as just sideways consolidation. I do have a bias to the bullish side, to the long side, but it's just not here yet. I see things have come down, have recycled. Remember, look at the breadth indicators, the number of stocks over their 20, 50, and 200-day SMA. I think they all came down to levels that could support a bounce or a move up, but not yet. So we're going to have to just wait and see what that trigger is. Keep in mind, next week we do have CPI and all that coming up. Another thing that Dave Keller and I spoke about was, and this is why I'm still leaning bullish, is if we look at the IWM, we do have a fresh Moxie price trigger. So that is very nice. It's exciting. I hope that continues to move through and see if the market cooperates with that. And we do see that price has pulled back into an uptrending weekly 50 as opposed to here where it got over a downtrending weekly 50. So at least the moving averages are in the right direction and could support a further upside move, but it's just kind of chilling out for now. It pulled back. It's kind of going sideways for a while. I'm not too concerned about this yet. So I'm just going to, as I said, chalk this up to it basing, taking a break. And you know what? Hopefully this is going to be setting a good level for a nice run into the end of the year. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not bearish. I'm just kind of waiting to see when these things are going to actually move to the upside. So let's see some of the other things that we can be looking at as far as, hey, I'm just kind of seeing a lot of stuff hanging out. That's another one. Let's do this. IWM, go back here, and we can do this. And then we go PLTR. A lot of names, even the strong names, got really overbought. You can see that here on the weekly chart. They got just super high up, and they were running into their third ATRs and all that kind of stuff, and now they've pulled back. A Palantir, for example, even pulled back to a previous price level. So you could look at it that way. Or you could look at this and say, it pulled back to the weekly 21, which tends to be a good moving average support. I wouldn't be bearish this name. So hopefully what doesn't happen is this doesn't come down, finds some support, and then breaks even lower. If that happens, yeah, everything's going in the garbage. Forget the strong side, and that's going to be bad. So we don't want to see that happen. What I'd like to see is that it pulls back, finds some support, and then it continues up. We'll just have to wait and see when that actually happens. And if we look over here, on the daily and hourly, you can see there's just a whole lot of sideways. So, look at all that. Once it got overbought and now it got repriced, now we're in a holding pattern. So we just have to wait and see when the market's going to finally shape up. It is at least doing the work that it needs to, that if it does want to go up, it could do that easily, mostly because a 50, 250 maneuver right there on the hourly chart and the Moxie indicator is above 0. And really, it's just kind of closing the gap between the 50 and the 200. And then on the daily chart, you can see it's also closing the gap between the daily 8 and 21. So maybe eventually, if it wants to go up, you get the 8 crossing over the 21. That could look good. Yes, the Moxie indicator is below 0, but that could also be price just going sideways for a while. So we'll have to see if it goes sideways and then eventually moves up. The Moxie indicator should stop going down, turn green, and then go back up and resume the uptrend. But when is that going to happen? We're not sure yet. Another thing, we can see something like Roku had a fairly big move a couple days ago, but it just it's not sticking. That's something we need to pay attention to. Big move, probably based on some sort of news that came out, definitely didn't stick. And you can see double top and third ATR. So that should have been pretty reasonable. If you guys happen to be long, should have cashed out, said thank you for, wow, that nice bounce. But don't chase something like that. These things are not sticking in this kind of market. Some of the other stuff, if we show you something like ENVX, and we've come over here to the higher time frames, again, you can see why I'm generally looking at names like this and saying, okay, they have pulled back into support. You can see there's a nice price consolidation area. It's pulled back to the weekly 50. The weekly 8 is over the 21. We do have the Moxie price trigger, and it's pulling back into an uptrending monthly 10. So, initial read says, not too bad. And we just need to kind of wait and see when is this thing going to actually start up in earnest. And you can see same thing. It also has just been going sideways. They got really, really overbought, had to take the wind out of the sails a bit, and now they're just kind of hanging out here, percolating, and we'll see when they finally want to take off and get going again. There was a bit of a move at the end of today, but I'm still not sure I want to trust that. I don't think like, oh, it's going to go to the moon. So we'll just have to wait for that to cycle back down. And, you know, if you want to pick up a piece, this probably seems like a pretty decent area, nice and low. Doesn't seem like it wants to go much lower, so this is probably a good pickup point, something like that. But otherwise, I'm waiting for the rest of the market to really give a good signal that more strength, more energy, more participation is coming in. So I'm going to leave it there with you guys. You know, kind of a quick video. There's not too much to talk about. You know, sure, there are a few things that are moving, but it's like 10 stocks that are moving. We want hundreds of stocks, and the participation is just not there. So we keep looking around. We build our watch list of potentials. We keep an eye on stuff, and then we just look and see when the market is ready to start moving up if that's the direction it wants to go. All right, guys, thanks again, and we'll see you next time. Bye.